Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Garrett Nussmeier going to be the starting quarterback for LSU in the bowl game. He met with the media yesterday, and I found some of the things he said to be interesting. And one was just talking about the preparation for him for this bowl game now as he's taking the reps with the ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. I wouldn't say it's been different in my preparation. I feel like I tried to play to my role as best I could whenever it wasn't my opportunity to start and be ready and prepare like I was a starter. With that being said, it's way different. Getting the reps and getting to work through everything and expecting to play and knowing I'm going to play. It's exciting. I'm really excited for it. And it's still the same thing. Trust my coaching, trust my teammates, and do what I'm told to do and execute and lead the offense.
It's such a great landing spot for him because you've got a Joe Moore finalist offensive line in front of you. You've got two fantastic wide receivers and a really strong tight end. You've got a healthy running back situation for the first time all year. So all the pieces around him are set up for success. I think it's a great spot for Garrett to log his first start. He was asked if this is kind of a statement game for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a statement. I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I'm going to do here, and I'm just going to trust my coach and trust my teammates and do what I'm told to do and lead the offense. And I wouldn't say I'm trying to make a statement or anything like that. I've been here. I know what to expect. I've been here, worked, and I'm excited.
I'm always interested in the dynamics of a quarterback room because often there's some contention there because there's only one quarterback. It's not like wide receiver where three of them are out there at the same time. So there's a natural competition that would go on in a quarterback room. And for Garrett to have sat behind three different guys, starting with Max Johnson and then obviously looking at JD5 this year, it's a situation where he could be bitter and have some animus towards those guys who have beaten him out. But every time Jayden Daniels is throwing a touchdown this year, coming off the field, Garrett's doing the celebrations with him, and they're playing the guitars and all that kind of stuff. And so it would come as no surprise to me that Jayden Daniels would be a really good resource for Garrett as he prepares to play in this game. And Nussmeier talked about learning from the Heisman winner.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Especially having, we had the competition 2 years ago, and we made each other better every day, and that I think was the best part. And I think that's helped my career the most was having to compete against such a high-level player every single day. And we went at it, and we pushed each other, and there were no off days, and we made each other better. And I think that's what I took away the most was that competition, learning things and seeing how things work, and I think that was huge.
Now you look at Nuss, and he becomes the voice in that huddle. You bring in a new left guard, and everything kind of stays the same because the left guard doesn't say anything or do much, just turn around and do your job. The quarterback's in charge of the rhythm of the offense, is in charge of the cadence that everybody is going with. They're in charge of being the alpha in the room. And Garrett has gone from being kind of a bystander to the guy in the middle of the huddle that's kind of leading the team. And when you're replacing the Heisman winner in that way, it can be a little bit intimidating, I would think. So Nussmeier talked about his leadership style as opposed to Jayden's.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, we are definitely different in that aspect, but there's no one right way to lead, and Jayden was a leader. You may not have seen him yelling and screaming and talking to people, but he led by example, and he led in his own way. And, just because we're different in the way that we lead, I don't think that's affected anything. I think that leadership in that spot in the quarterback room is still there, whether or not I'm yelling or he was quiet, And, I think also one of the things Jayden improved on was he started to speak out more, and it helped him a lot this year and helped us this year. I wouldn't say that there's a big difference or a big fall off.
One of the things I took away from going to practices last year, preseason, we didn't even know if Jayden Daniels was a starting quarterback or Garrett Nussmeier was a starting quarterback. It was actually a competition last year. And we were kind of paying attention to, one, how the guys played, and two, like what their mannerisms were like out on the field. What was very obvious about Garrett is that he is full of energy. When they would complete a pass or a big play, you'd see him running down the field, jumping up on the wide receiver's shoulders, throwing high fives. He was very energetic and emotional when he played. And I think that's kind of the guy you're going to see when he's out there playing. We haven't gotten a great look at Garrett Nussmeier. He's played a little bit. We saw him in the Arkansas game in 2021. We saw him against Georgia in the second half of the SEC championship game last year. A little bit against Purdue. He came into a really tough situation in the game against Alabama this year, where he was down two scores, and they were just bringing tons of people on every drop back, as they knew right where he was going to be and what LSU had to do. So we haven't seen a lot of it, and I think what we're going to do with this game is, as I've said multiple times, like, I feel like there's going to be a pretty sizable overreaction to what happens in this bowl game and how Garrett Nussmeier performs, and everybody's going to immediately put eyes right to the USC game Labor Day weekend and go, this is what it's going to look like. But there's development that obviously goes on, and we've seen that with Jaden Daniels in a big, big way. And Nussmeier talked about the development that he's had since his first real game action, which was that Arkansas game back in 2021.
I would say I'm a totally different player, just mentally. I mean, that's 3 years ago. Just the growth I've got to have mentally, and everything's still there. He's still the same player, but he's a more experienced player. He's learned how to take care of the football. He's learned when to stretch it down the field and when to not stretch it down the field. And he's learned, most importantly, how to run the offense and lead it and take over and put my foot down if I think something's right, and I'm going to stand on it. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is building that confidence in this building, building the confidence in this offense. And I think that's the biggest difference.
Well, third person there from Nuss, but that's fair. I'm assuming that there has been a sizable amount of growth over the last 3 years. It's just not something that we can see because he's not out there playing in the games that we're watching. I thought when this bowl game was announced that there was a really good chance that Jaden Daniels wouldn't play, that Malik Neighbors wouldn't play, and that Brian Thomas wouldn't play, or at the very least, Malik Neighbors would go out there and play for the 21 yards and then sit down, which I guess he still could theoretically do. But I thought there'd be an opportunity for a lot of young wide receivers to play. You've got these freshmen that didn't just get a lot of runs. Shelton Sampson dropped a couple touchdowns against Grambling. We never really saw him again. We haven't seen much of Jalen Brown. We haven't seen much of Kyle Parker or Kai Preon, or haven't seen much Aaron Anderson, quite honestly. It's really been those top three. It's been Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and Kyron Lacey. So Nussmeier hasn't been working with those guys. He's more often been working with the young receivers. And the question that was posed to Garrett was like, who's emerged from that group?
I think a lot of that freshman class has worked their tails off. Shelton and KP and Kai and Jalen, all those guys, and even Pimpton and Mac. And, we have a really good, solid young group that has really worked, and they've gotten better and better and better. And, they've had great examples to learn from in Malik and BT and Kyron, and Aaron Anderson too. And so, I think, they've made strides. And, I'm really excited to, continue to keep working with those guys and for us to keep going.
I'm curious to see those guys whenever we do, whether that's in this game against Wisconsin or maybe it's in the spring game, because there's so much talent there, and Garrett's been working with them. The other guys that he's been working with are Joe Sloan and Mike Denbrock, and we know that Mike Denbrock is moving on to Notre Dame, and Joe Sloan is going to be an interim co-offensive coordinator with Cortez Hankton, who's been the wide receivers coach on this group and done a phenomenal job there. But Garrett's been working with Joe Sloan a ton. I thought that this would be a really great place in terms of continuity, because Garrett Nussmeier's been working with Mike Denbrock for 2 years, and now Mike Denbrock's not going to coach in the bowl game, so that relationship is out the window. But Joe Sloan is a guy that he's worked with very closely, and Nussmeier, before this news broke, was asked yesterday about his relationship with Mike Denbrock as well as Joe Sloan.
I love the relationship I have with Coach Sloan and Coach Denbrock. I wouldn't want to be coached by anybody else. I'm getting to work with them every single day. It's been really good for me. Coach Sloan has really, really helped me become a better player and a better person. And getting to work with him one-on-one every day it's definitely helped my career a lot. I think that was part of the reason why I came back, was Coach Sloan and the relationship we have and the ability that I believe he has to coach me.
And again, this was before the news broke. Maybe Garrett knew. Maybe so. I don't know. But he talked more about Joe Sloan there than he did about Mike Denbrock. And so we were talking with Preston Guy about this a little bit earlier in the hour about whether or not this is kind of an audition. And I don't know that Brian Kelly will necessarily make a decision purely based on what goes on in the bowl game. But Joe Sloan certainly could help himself if things run really smoothly and if things are efficient and they score some points. Wisconsin, I talked to you yesterday saying that their offense is atrocious, and it is. Their defense is not atrocious. Their defense is pretty good. So if Joe Sloan were able to go out there and put some points on the board against Wisconsin and score 30, that certainly would, I think, advance his cause. I don't know how blindsided is probably not the right word, but how prepared Brian Kelly was for this Mike Denbrock news. You always understand that could happen. We know that there were some overtures made by Texas A&M towards Mike Denbrock, so it can't be too surprising to Brian Kelly that folks were interested in hiring Mike Denbrock away. Just curious as to what the next move is, and we just don't know. Brian Kelly's been in this business a very, very long time. He's got an extensive network and a lot of contacts. He's also got a guy that may deserve a shot right there in the building, and he'll get that shot here coming up in the bowl game, and maybe this sticks, and maybe they go outside. There are a lot of different options to consider there, but it sounds like to me that Garrett Nussmeier has a really, really good relationship with Joe Sloan, and there's potentially a chance for him to be elevated to that spot. We shall see. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.